Good afternoon and welcome to Lunchtime News on TV1. For the Newsfirst team, I'm Ditmini De Silva. Let's start off with a look at the headlines.
The Professionals Trade Union Collective issues another warning to the government.
පිළිගත හැකි පිළිතුරක් ලැබෙනතු අනිවාර්යෙන් මේ වැඩ වර්ජන ක්‍රියාත්මක කිරීමට තමයි මේ වෙනකොට තීරණය කරලා තියෙන්නේ.
Food stalls on the road to Adams Peak to be inspected after listeria infection detected in the area. Udegaman pillar files RTI for information on US diplomats who secretly visited Sri Lanka. Massive losses following improper storage and printing of school textbooks. Education Minister says school books will be distributed to all schools from 23rd March.
The Federation of University Teachers Associations warns that if their salaries are curtailed, strict trade union action will be launched. FUTA spokesperson Charudatta Ilangasinghe made this comment at a briefing in Colombo.
University lecturers are on strike for the 9th day today, disrupting all activities at universities. Professor Shyama Banhacker, chairman of the Federation of University Teachers Association, said the government's response to their demands was unacceptable. Academic activities and the examination process at a majority of universities have come to a standstill due to the ongoing strike. The Professionals Trade Union Collective will meet with the President's Secretary on Friday morning. The PTCU is a collective of over 40 trade unions and is against the government's new tax regime. Friday's meeting is to be held ahead of the meeting that the Professionals Trade Union Collective will have with the President. According to Dr. Suren Raghavan, the State Minister of Higher Education, around 2 billion rupees that was allocated for the universities had gone to waste as a result of the strike launched by the Federation of University Teachers Associations. He said the FUTA strike would also lead to a situation where the time spent by students to complete their degree programs would be further extended.
Sri Lanka's Urban Development Authority is planning to take over abandoned and unfinished buildings in the Colombo district constructed in UDA leased lands, and it is planning to submit a cabinet paper to take over unfinished Krish and Destiny buildings.
Both Krish and Destiny were ambitious projects under former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, who gave priority to the construction sector. Nimesh Herat, chairman of the Urban Development Authority, said UDA lands are given for some of such mega projects on a long-term lease. According to the chairman, the UDA has the authority to take back the land because it owns the land. Evaluation of the two buildings is yet to be done. The management companies of Krish and Destiny have stopped the construction midway. Krish has taken partial and full payment for some apartments it was to complete. Indian and Pakistani exporters halted construction activities with the emergence of the COVID-19 pandemic. Chairman of the UDA said payments have already been made by potential tenants for the apartments at the building. The move comes as a precedented economic crisis has forced Sri Lanka to look for new resources to earn foreign currency. Tourism has started to see some increase in arrivals of foreign visitors since December last year. The price fluctuation due to sharp depreciation of the rupee has discouraged constructors, and many were on hold until the prices stabilized. Analysts say the delay has caused heavy cost escalation for constructors and higher opportunity cost for the government.
Parliamentarian Professor Nalaka Godaheva says that the government should focus on increasing the income of the country and not of the government.
රජයේ ආදායම් වැඩි කරගන්නා එක නෙවෙයි රජය බලන්න ඕනේ රටේ ආදායම් වැඩි කරගන්න එක. රටේ ආදායම් වැඩි කරගන්නවා කියලා.
The government should focus on increasing the earnings of the country, not of the government. To increase the revenue of the country is to develop the country. And when this happens, even if the amount of taxes that the government gains is low, it is still an increase in revenue for the government. Ranil Wickremesinghe's economic principle is to increase taxes and to thereby increase the government income. This doesn't work. There is no plan to develop the economy. Whatever is said and done, the economy is falling. If the government even has some sense of economic knowledge, they should stray away from this false and unsuccessful method of taxing people more and bring a tax policy that is fair by the people. They should reduce the unnecessary expenses of the government and start working to develop the country.
රජයේ මේ නාස්ති අඩු කරලා රජයේ දූෂණය අඩු කරලා රටේ ආර්ථිකය සංවර්ධනය කිරීම සඳහා උපරිම වැඩපිළිවෙලක් ක්‍රියාත්මක.
The development project that also includes the construction of a car park close to the Badagamur Forest Reservation in Kurunangala is going to waste, and locals claim the project launched in the midst of the country's worst economic crisis. The project was launched in 2021, casting aside the strong protest made by the locals. The development project next to the Badagamur Forest Reservation, which includes a car park, jogging track, 4 sanitation facilities and an amphitheatre, cost the taxpayer over 220 million rupees. This car park is not being utilised to its maximum and is currently occupied by a troop of monkeys. According to the locals, the 4 sanitation facilities and the amphitheatre have fallen victim to thieves. Locals appeal from the authorities to properly restore the project so that it can be used by all.
කෝටි ගණක් වියදම් කළා දැන් රිලව් වර්මේ හරක් තමයි ඒකේ ලගින්නේ දැන් ආදායම ගන්න පුළුවන් විදියට සකස් කරලා දෙන්න කියන්න.
Sri Lankan health authorities claim there is no risk of listeria spreading across the Ratnapura district. Health officials said the people need not have unnecessary fear in this regard. Director of Health Services for the Ratnapura district, Dr. Srini Alahaperuma, told Newsfirst that a woman who had fallen ill had died at the Ratnapura General Hospital, and thereafter health officials had paid special attention to the cause of death. It was reported that the deceased had fallen ill after returning from a pilgrimage to Adams Peak. The Director of Health Services for the Ratnapura district said that all food stalls located along the path leading to Adams Peak will be subject to inspection. She said the public should not unnecessarily fear over this disease. MP Udaya Gammanpila has filed requests with the Department of Immigration and the Katunayake International Airport seeking information on the US diplomats who recently visited Sri Lanka. The requests were filed under the Right to Information Act.
In his letter, MP Udaya Gammanpila said the US diplomats had arrived in Sri Lanka on the 17th of February on board 217 Globemaster aircraft. MP Gammanpila, through his letter, had requested for confirmation that the director of the FBI was among the delegation. Through the letter, MP Udaya Gammanpila also requested information on whether any official from Sri Lanka had instructed that the US delegation not be subject to a check by immigration and immigration officials and Sri Lanka customs officials.
An audit report has revealed that the government has incurred a loss of 90 million rupees due to the miscalculation of annual textbook requirement and due to the mismanagement of the stocks of books.
The National Audit Office has formulated this report based on the annual reports of the Education Publications Department from the years 2018 to 2021. It was further revealed through the audit report that the Education Publications Department has further failed to acquire almost 500,000 textbook copies from private printers and the government printer as well.
Sri Lanka's Education Minister Susil Premajanta said that from the 23rd of March, school textbooks will be distributed to all students across all schools in the country. He was speaking at the school books and stationery distribution program named Divisavya, organized by the LOLC Holdings. In news overseas, French riot police used batons, tear gas and water cannons to clear demonstrators from a central Paris square where a crowd of thousands had gathered to protest President Emmanuel Macron's pensions reform. Lines of police with riot shields and batons drawn advanced towards the Place de la Concorde late on Thursday evening, while others fired water cannons after a fire was lit in the middle of the historic square. Police baton charged and used tear gas to push the protesters back across the square and away from a bridge leading to the Palais Bourbon, the meeting place of the National Assembly, France's lower house of parliament. France's Interior Ministry instructed police to put in place enhanced protective measures for members of parliament in the face of the ongoing protests that erupted as Macron shunned the French parliament and opted to push through a highly unpopular pension reform bill that would raise the retirement age from 62 to 64. 217 people were arrested due to unrest, including at Place de la Concorde, where an estimated 6,000 demonstrators set fire to wooden pallets and threw objects at police officers. Protests also broke out in other French cities, including Marseille, Dijon, Nantes, Rennes, Rouen, Grenoble, Toulouse and Nice. Ministry of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs has decided to hold State Vesak Festival in Puttlam this year. The festival will be held at the Kadalava Sri Ratnasiri Pirivena in Shillao.
Regarding the Vesak festival was held at the Karavitagara Sri Ratnasiri Pirivena in Chilao on Thursday. The discussion was held under the auspices of the Minister of Buddha Sasana, Religious and Cultural Affairs. Mahasangha and other religious leaders, state officials and MPs participated in the event.
Sri Lanka's Education Minister Susil Premajantha said that from the 23rd of March, school textbooks will be distributed to all students across all schools in the country. He was speaking at the School Books and Stationery Distribution Program named Divisavya, organized by the LOLC Holdings. The Divisavya program, organized by LOLC Holdings, will distribute school books and stationery material to all students. Friday's program took place at the Gannemulla Sri Sumangala Prime School and it was attended by Education Minister Susil Premajantha. This event was also attended by Kitsiri Gunawardana, Chief Operating Officer of LOLC Holdings PLC, and Gampaha Zonal Education Director PD Nanyakara. The program will be conducted under 2 stages. Under the first phase, exercise books and stationery items will be distributed to 1,419 schools with less than 50 students. Under the second stage, exercise books and stationery items will be distributed to 1,552 schools that has between 50 to 100 students. The first program of the first stage of the Divisavya program was launched from the Gannemulla Sri Sumangala Prime School.
දැන් මේ අවුරුද්දෙත් පෙළ පොත් ටික දෙනවා. දැන් මේ වෙනකොට 75-80 පාසල් කරා බෙදලා අවසන් වෙලා තිනවා.
School textbooks will be provided this year. We have reached around 75% to 80% at some schools. We have given instructions to distribute the school textbooks by the 23rd of March. Previously, it cost us 4,000 million rupees to print the textbooks, and this time it costs 16,000 million rupees. It costs 8,000 million rupees for school uniform material. The combined cost is 24 billion rupees. Another challenge that we have encountered was the provision of breakfast for students and the rising cost of school books and stationery. 1.2 million students in the country will be given breakfast, and we hope to increase that number to 2 million. The production cost for textbooks have increased, and it is the same for school books, stationery and school bags, etc. We need to have an alternative. We need to identify the schools where patients are seriously economically challenged and support those children with free school books and stationery. LOLC Holdings joined us with their CSR project. This project costs 1.5 billion rupees. We need to move fast in the 21st century. We are way back when it comes to IT. Next month, we will launch a pilot project with Microsoft for an international level IT education and will introduce artificial intelligence from grade 10 as a subject. In another 5 years, IT will be forgotten and AI will be used.
අවුරුදු 4කදී අපි ආටිෆිෂල් ඉන්ටෙලිජන්ස් සබ්ජෙක්ට් එක ග්‍රේඩ් 10 වල ඉන්ට්‍රොඩියුස් කරනවා. තද එතෙන්ට යන්නේ. තව අවුරුදු 5ක් යනකොට IT කියන එකත් පැත්තකට යනවා. දුවදරුවන්ට අධ්‍යාපනය ලබා දීම.
The situation is such that the parents are finding it difficult to afford the school books, bags, water bottles and other items for their children. We need to engage in social service to address that. We can only be happy with such acts. LOLC is a company that has such a vision, and we only expect that you study well.
සනසිල්ලක් සතුටක් ලැබෙන්නේ. ඉතින් අන්න ඒ වගේ ඉතාමත් උදාර දර්ශනයක් තියෙන ආයතනයක් LOLC ආයතනය. නැන්දල මාමල හැටියට අපි ඔබලගෙන් බලාපොරොත්තු වෙන්නේ මේ උපකාරය අරගෙන ඉතාමත් හොඳින් ඉතාමත් ශක්තියෙන් තමන්ගේ අධ්‍යාපනය කටයුතු කරන්න.
The program carried out with the Education Ministry supported by LOLC Holdings. The Divisavya program aims to secure a brighter future for coming generations. The Freedom of the World Report 2023 has downgraded Sri Lanka in terms of democratic hallmarks. Sri Lanka has been termed partly free as it was a year ago.
As per the 2023 Freedom of the World report prepared by the Freedom House in Washington, D.C., Sri Lanka's score has come down from 55th to 53rd and is rated partly free as it was a year ago. The report states that while some countries in the Asia-Pacific region have overcome decades of dictatorship to establish resilient democracies, authoritarian forces elsewhere continue to push back against domestic calls for liberty and justice. Examples of progress in 2022 were largely driven by pre-democratic political movements and small improvements in judicial independence, anti-corruption efforts and freedom of movement. In Sri Lanka, protesters persevered through a police violence and ultimately forced the resignation of the long-dominant Rajapaksa family from their multiple positions in government, though years of mismanagement left the country with serious economic and governance challenges. The report notes that in Sri Lanka, democracy is under pressure.
Several Middle Eastern ambassadors called on the Mahanayaka of the Askari chapter of the Siam sect in Kandy.
The ambassadors from Palestine, Egypt and the United Arab Emirates called on the Mahanayaka of the Askari chapter of the Siam sect, Most Venerable Warakagoda Sri Gnanaratana Thero in Kandy. The meeting took place at the Askari Mahaviharaya.
Taking a look back at news overseas, Poland will send 4 Soviet-era MiG fighter jets to Ukraine, becoming the first NATO country to send planes since Russia invaded last year. Polish President Andrzej Duda said they would be sent in the coming days, with others handed over in the future. Though a welcome boost to Ukraine's air defense, the extra jets are not expected to be decisive in the war. Other NATO countries are considering sending the Soviet-era planes which Ukrainian pilots are trained to fly. Ukraine has previously asked Western countries for modern fighter jets such as the F-16. The UK is training Ukrainian pilots on NATO standard aircraft. But because of the long training times, it has warned that supplying Western jets would only ever be a long-term option. President Biden has previously ruled out sending jets from the US to Ukraine. Global bank crisis fears ease after billion-dollar lifelines in Asian stock markets rise after moves to show up confidence in troubled banks in Europe and the United States. Fears of a global banking crisis have eased following the rollout of multi-billion-dollar lifelines for troubled lenders in Europe and the United States, with Asia's stock markets rebounding from earlier lows. Stocks rose in China, Japan, South Korea, Malaysia, Australia, the Philippines and Hong Kong on Friday, following gains on Wall Street after the largest US banks unveiled a $30 billion lifeline for troubled regional lender First Republic Bank. Polish President Andrzej Duda said they would be sent in the coming days, with others handed over in the future. Though a welcome boost to Ukraine's air defense, the extra jets are not expected to be decisive in the war. Other NATO countries are considering sending the Soviet-era planes which Ukrainian pilots are trained to fly. Ukraine has previously asked Western countries for modern fighter jets such as the F-16. Day 1 of the second test between New Zealand and Sri Lanka concluded early as bad light forced the umpires to call stumps. At the end of the day's play, the Kiwis sat at 155 for 2 in 48 overs. Devon Conway and Kane Williamson led the scoring charts for the hosts.
It's the breakthrough. Sri Lanka, they are over the moon here. Conway has perished. Since the last 10 years.
Day 2 of the 144th Battle of the Blues, the cricket encounter between Royal College Colombo and St Thomas College Mount Lavinia is currently underway at the SSC grounds in Colombo.
After St Thomas's College won the toss and decided to field first, Royal College declared their first innings on 326 for 8. Skipper Dasis Manchanayaka scored 137 while Ramiro Pereira scored 128 runs. After coming into bat for the first innings today, St Thomas's College Mount Lavinia lost their first 3 wickets inside 45 runs.
The 118th Richmond Mahinda cricket encounter commenced at the Galle International Cricket Stadium. The 118th Richmond Mahinda cricket encounter, dubbed as the Lovers' Quarrel, saw Mahinda College take first lease of the wicket. They won 160 runs for the loss of 2 wickets at 34 overs.
160 runs for the loss of 2 wickets at 34 overs.
That's a wrap of the lunchtime news. Join us again at 1:30 on our early news bulletin.